So why calcium so early? What's it gonna do for the growers?
Well, from the perspective of a tree fruit grower, the part of the plant that we're most interested in is the fruit, okay? And physiologically, we know that the only time that a plant can incorporate calcium into each individual cell wall in that plant is when the cell is actually being divided and formed. So it's during cell division. So thinking about the part of the plant that we're most interested in, the fruit, we know that to get the most calcium into the cell wall requires us to have ample calcium available during cell division in the fruit. So that's a very important consideration, and traditionally when we look at how calcium's been used, we feel that we've frequently waited too long to start calcium, that we've waited until after cell division has ended in the fruit, so we basically relied on whatever calcium the plant could easily move into the fruit. And then we waited till after that point to start applying foliar calcium and basically try to maintain whatever level the plant was able to achieve.
So it really is gonna require like a shift of paradigm. They need to be proactive with their calcium approach as opposed to just being reactive to what's going on at the time. So they gotta start thinking way ahead.
That's right. We need to think about when cell division occurs and the fact that that is the window we have to really influence the amount and the availability of calcium to those dividing cells, and focus on when does that happen in the part of the plant that we're most interested in. So that really happens in tree fruit and pome fruits from the time that we get fertilization of that flower and that fruitlet starts to form. Even at the microscopic level, we have cells dividing. And it's that window, so from bloom to about 30 days post-petal fall is really the key window where virtually all of the cells in that fruit are determined. The total number of cells it will have.
So it's your make it or break it really for your crop during that time.
That's right. Yep. It's right then that it will really determine the maximum level of calcium that you'll ever find in that fruit. And from there on out, it's a question of what can we do once we've built the calcium level high, what can we do then to maintain that calcium in that fruit? How do we keep another part of the plant later in the season that has the demand for calcium from going and actually taking calcium back from that fruit? And you know, really, if you think of this in terms of how nature's perspective is, nature's happy with just forming a viable seed for that plant to reproduce the species. Now, the qualities in a piece of fruit to make a good viable seed are very different than the qualities we want in that fruit when we're going to sell it as a consumable piece of produce.
So what does the Sysstem-Cal do differently than any of the other calcium that's out there that customers would have to choose from?
Well, Sysstem-Cal is really unique in quite a few different ways. The first way is the formulation. Sysstem-Cal uses a technology called phosphite technology. That's phosphite, P-H-I-T-E, not phosphate, which is the normal form of phosphorus that we fertilize plants with. Phosphite's a little different, and so it has some great properties when it's used in a foliar nutrient, the way we do, because phosphites are very rapidly absorbed into the tissue of plants. We don't know of any other molecule that's absorbed more quickly and translocated in the plant. So
the other calciums don't offer that?
They definitely do not offer phosphite technology as the vehicle for moving calcium into the tissue.
Okay.
So that's really quite important. Now, it doesn't make calcium behave differently in the plant than calcium behaves, but the way that we get the calcium into the tissue and to the vascular system is superior to any other way that we know of.
We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I mean, can you briefly give us what those benefits are?
Well, the benefits, especially when we think about when we want to apply calcium during that cell division window and the way that it applies to tree fruit, really are quite important, because that is the same window when there are other very critical processes going on in the orchard in terms of managing the crop. It's a time that we're trying to manage other diseases like fire blight. We're trying to thin the crop so we have an acceptable crop load on that we can grow full-size fruit that are in the marketable preferred range. But that whole process, that thinning process, is can be very tricky. I mean, there's a lot of art involved in thinning properly. So we need to make sure that the type of calcium that we would want to use in that window of cell division is also very compatible with all those other very important processes that go on. And we've done 5 years of research looking at, does Sysstem-Cal have any negative effects with those processes and the types of products that we're using right then? And fortunately, we found out that not only is it compatible, but in some cases it may even enhance the activity of some of the other compounds that we'll use during that time. For example, one of the plant growth regulators that's used now quite widely to help subdue fire blight is called Apogee. And Apogee typically cannot be mixed with calcium products because the calcium in most formulations will actually interact with the Apogee and deactivate it. Sysstem-Cal is quite unique in that way, in that it not only doesn't deactivate the Apogee, but in some cases it might actually help the intake of Apogee into the tissue.
Excellent.
And we think that's all related to the phosphite technology and the rapid absorption of the phosphite into the tissue.
Makes sense.
So we can feed calcium at that critical window and also make a very important application of Apogee that helps the plant be more resistant to that devastating disease. So that's one of the facets of Sysstem-Cal and what the benefit of phosphite technology can do.
Give us a call or email us, contact us for more features and benefits of this.